नमस्कार, म प्रकाश घिमिरे। कार्यक्रम रूपान्तरणमा तपाईलाई स्वागत छ। हामी यो रूपान्तरण कार्यक्रममा समष्टिगत विकाससँग जोडिएका विशिष्टीकृत विषयवस्तुमा विवेचना र छलफल गर्छौं। यस क्रममा आज हामी प्लान इन्टरनेशनल नेपालले नेपालमा खासगरी बालबालिकाको क्षेत्रमा काम गरेको र यसको सेवा सुरुवात गरेको 40 वर्ष पुगेको छ। यो 40 वर्षको अवधिमा यसले गरेका कामहरूको उपलब्धि के रह्यो अनि काम गर्दाको अनुभव कस्तो रह्यो भन्ने विषयमा केन्द्रित रहेर कुराकानी गर्छौं। Today we are going to talk about the 40 years of journey of Plan Nepal, which has been working here in Nepal in the children's and girls sector. So to talk about this issue today we have invited Sven Coppens, who is country director of Plan International Nepal. Coppens, you are warmly welcomed in this Rupantaran program.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Let's begin with what is Plan International Nepal.
Yeah. Plan International is basically one of the oldest child rights organizations in the world. We were founded over 80 years ago in Spain, actually, during the Spanish Civil War. Yeah. And about 40 years ago, we came to Nepal and we started implementing our programs focusing on children's rights and working with communities. We are a grassroots organization, and Plan International Nepal is a branch of our global Plan International organization.
Why Plan focuses its activities in children's, and you are also focusing on girls' rights and girls' educations, even within the periphery of children's?
Exactly, yeah. It's one of our niche areas, but it's not because we have chosen to do this. It's basically because the data have demonstrated that focusing on children's rights is not enough. Yeah. We see that part of our children, which is girls, are disproportionately affected by poverty. Yeah. And we found it as one of the organizations who has had ample experience on children's rights promotion, that it was our responsibility and our duty basically to start also thinking about the most vulnerable within the cohort of children, which is very often girls.
Let's talk about Nepali context. Yeah. Plan International Nepal started its service 40 years back. Yeah. Here in Nepal. If I am right, Plan started its service from Kathmandu.
Correct.
Now it has expanded its service up to 50 districts of Nepal. Yeah. How do you remember that 40 years back days?
I think we all remember because of two things. Yeah. The first one is we are working at all levels. Yeah. We are working at the grassroots level in the villages with the local stakeholders. And we work at the national level and all the layers in between. So our evidence is basically not just written in books, our evidence is in the heads of people. We have been working for a very long time with Nepali citizens, with children in particular, but also with their families and their community members. So that makes us remember where we come from. And the second thing is one of the attributes that we have as an organization is that we are a sponsorship organization. Now sponsorship is not just sponsoring a child out of charitable purposes. Yeah. Sponsorship means that we build leadership at the local level. We build the new heroes, we build the new leaders in a particular country through a one-on-one link with a sponsor in the West. Yeah. And that kind of connection makes us remember the achievements that we actually have had over the last 40 years.
What does hero and leaders, local leaders mean?
For us it means children who have received a little bit of an extra push to basically get more opportunities to choose their own path in life. It's not us deciding what these children should be doing, yeah. But it is about opening opportunities. It's building an environment which is much more receptive, yeah, to the needs of these children and opens up a variety of opportunities in a community that children can aim for. Yeah. So rather than being fatalistic in a way, we try to work with different sectors, with the education sector, with the health sector, with any other stakeholder in the community to make sure that the children in these communities can reach out to a wider future and have more opportunities to grab.
Yes, you are going to celebrate 40 years of your journey, it means of Plan Nepal's journey. How are you celebrating? How are you marking the 40 years or 4 decades of service of Plan International Nepal in this country?
So one of the things we want to do is grab this evidence, grab our best practices, grab the people, and document the people that can witness about the work that we have been doing. Not about putting us in the spotlight, but about putting the local level leaders that have worked with us, very often from an early start, as children, and putting them in the spotlight to actually witness what a child-friendly community, a child-friendly nation can actually look like and what it can mean for children. So that's basically one of the first investments that we are making. It's like having other people witness about what we have been doing, not for our sake, but actually as a way of demonstrating what impact can look like. And secondly, of course, we are building this up to the 11th of October 2018. It's basically the International Day of the Girl Child. This will be an event in which we will try to gather other stakeholders, other audiences around not just looking at children's rights in Nepal, but also looking at girls' rights in particular in Nepal. We will be celebrating globally this the 6th International Day of the Girl Child on the 11th of October.
Let's reconnect our conversation in Nepali context.
Good.
How do you flashback the 40 years of the journey?
Yeah, we started basically small. We started small,
obviously,
in Kathmandu, as you mentioned already. And we expanded, but we started with the sponsorship approach and a little bit more with a charitable approach, meaning we wanted to provide
sponsorship. You started the program from a sponsorship program, yeah?
Correct.
Right,
yeah.
What is sponsorship program? Because if I am right, sponsorship program is one of the very important component of a plan international
exactly.
Nepal. Could you please briefly tell about it?
Good. Sponsorship is actually our foundation. What it does is linking a child and a community with a sponsor somewhere else in the world. It doesn't matter where, because we have sponsors from all over the world. And what it does is actually enabling a bridge, a communication, so people start knowing about each other's realities. And that's what we call our development education. We educate people about development issues all over the world. And the aim is that it's a mutual communication. So it's not just children communicating to a sponsor, but sponsor and their children very often communicating to children here.
That support contributes to the children to continue her education.
Education has been very long a priority program in our areas in Nepal.
Could you tell me how many children are sponsored under the support of or under the facilitations of Plan International Nepal?
At this moment of time, 40,000.
40,000 children.
It's 39,000 and a bit, but I'll round it up to 40,000. So so 40,000 and about 35,000 of them are connected with a sponsor. 5,000 of them are ready to be connected with a sponsor.
As you already told, one of the objectives to sponsor these children from marginalized and background is to make them heroes and leaders. To find them working as heroes and leaders in their surroundings, to find these sponsored children who are still working.
Oh yes. There are ample examples, and one of the things we will be doing during our 40th anniversary is putting a couple of these examples up out also to the public. So people that we call heroes that basically came up. Now, heroes is not somebody who's flying to the moon. Heroes is somebody who not only made an achievement in his or her life, but also gives back. And that's a little bit how we define
hero means role model persons.
Exactly, And we actually still work with these role models also in our programs. We have a couple in our history. We have had a couple of sponsored children who actually also became Plan International staff. And we are also working with some of our ex-sponsored children in particular projects, even when they're not staff. They might be partner staff, etc. We might be interlocutors. They might be activists. We have activists who are ex-sponsored children who are now basically being promoting girls' equality.
Sorry for interrupting in between, but originally I was asking you to flashback the 40 years of your learning and experiences. You are continuing and you are sharing the sponsorship programs. Could you please continue?
Yes.
The flashback of 40 years of your journey.
Indeed, and particularly sponsorship is a foundation, but of course on top of that we do a lot more. And we have been working in quite a lot of social development sectors, education, child health, of course. We've been working on livelihoods, we've been working on girls and women empowerment, etc. So the whole variety of what a community can benefit from, which makes then that community much more child friendly. If you look at the context of Nepal, of course, poverty is one issue, but there's a lot of harmful practices. There's child marriage, there's child rape, child trafficking. So we're trying to work with girls and boys now to tackle some of these issues that they are experiencing in their communities.
In future?
In the future, yeah.
In future. What are the major and remarkable programs or projects that you remember which you implemented successfully during these 40 years of time?
Yeah, I think one of our most successful programs is actually the child clubs, and now also the adolescent girls clubs. Yeah, because girls clubs. Yeah, so the clubs play a role in community development, but what it does extra is actually build child leadership, and that is the most important thing. So we have children going through programs, defining their own agendas, looking at their own environment in their community, see what needs to be changed. So we give them the space through these clubs to actually make changes in their community, not defined by us, but be defined by them, and we are only supporting them.
That is one of the successful
I find that one of our most biggest successes, apart from, we have quite a lot of infrastructural successes. We have built, reconstructed, rehabilitated quite a number of schools in these 40 years, as well as health posts. We have done quite a lot on water, which is very important. On top of that, also our sanitation work, primarily open defecation-free communities, is one of the aspects that we have put in place. But the child leadership, for me, is the core. Yeah. Second big example is looking at some of the issues that we are targeting or tackling in our programs. I think one of our biggest successes is working with Kamilari and freeing the Kamilari.
You are still working there?
We are still working on that.
In 5 districts of Western Nepal?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
You have been working with the government of Nepal and community and with your local partners organizations as well. Yes. How do you work with these stakeholders and authorities and communities?
We have a particular approach, and it's called child-centered community development. That's how we call it. Yeah. And one of our criteria there is we need to demonstrate that we are working at all levels with all stakeholders. So we want to combine, that's the first aspect, our work at community level with now our work at municipality level, rural municipality, provincial level, as well as the national level. So we want to make a connection between that because we think that is needed for sustainability. But then within communities, we need to be able to work with all different actors that have a responsibility for children. So that goes from the children themselves in the first place to their families, to the organized, to the governmental responsibles. Now it's of course rural municipalities, in the past it was the district authorities, the VDCs, as well as then non-governmental organizations. So other stakeholders that need to be involved in setting up a mechanism to protect children, setting up a mechanism to basically advance the lives of children and create more opportunities. Formally, of course, in the context of Nepal, there is a requirement for international NGOs to work directly with national NGOs, which we as such do not find a problem because it is our global approach. Our preferred approach is basically not just to implement. We are not here to directly implement programs. We are here to build a civil society and build all the actors' capacity to advance the lives of children and communities.
Coppens, there is no doubt that INGOs are really contributing especially to push the social issues and mainstream the marginalized and disadvantaged communities. INGOs are also working with the local non-governmental organizations. But there is one question. INGOs are very systematic. They have developed their own system, policies, and there is questions whether these INGOs are transferred their knowledge and skill to the local organizations or not. What is your experience?
Well, I'm going to answer this with an anecdote. I was in Sinduli meeting with our partners a couple of months ago. And they actually witnessed the capacity development. Yeah. Not just capacity development on technical interventions toward children, but actually the capacity development on organizational development. Yeah. So we have very stringent, for instance, financial guidelines, yeah, of course. Yeah. So we transfer that knowledge of our financial guidelines to our partners. Yeah. And sometimes I think like, yeah, it might be very cumbersome to do that. But actually they witnessed that is part of the civil society development. Yeah. They benefited as an organization because they're also working with other organizations. They benefited as an organization from that particular type of intervention. So the training that we provide working together is not just the technical training, but also the organizational development training allows us to build a civil society that will remain in these areas even when we are gone. Yeah. And I think that's the stability, that's the sustainability we want to achieve.
Can we say there is a mixed experience? Some NGOs are grasping the knowledge and skills from INGOs, and some INGOs are also transferring the knowledge and skill to the local NGOs and INGOs. Yes, but some NGOs are not ready, or they are not being successful to take that knowledge and skills.
Yes,
can we say mixed experience? What is the remarkable achievement of plan 40 years of journey in Nepal?
In Nepal, yeah. I think last year, a culminating experience. 2 years ago, during the International Day of the Girl Child, we had the opportunity to have one girl basically taking the presidency of Nepal. And that was really an example of how we were promoting girls' leadership in Nepal. This year, during our International Day of the Girl Child, we did it a little bit differently. We didn't just focus on one girl. We basically allowed 300 girls to take over community radio stations. Not just to make their voice heard in the community radio station, but to gather responsible people, be it activists, being new mayors, being people, newly elected government people, to collect them together, have an interview with them, but also to have the newly elected people, the activists, make commitments for girls' rights in front of the audience, basically on air. And we're following up on these commitments that were made in these 300 community radio broadcasts. So from one girl, we basically expanded the leadership, the demonstration of girls' leadership, which we hope will change mindsets, that it's not just boys, it's not just men, but it's also girls and women who have innate leadership skills, to basically give them a forum to change mindsets of people.
Okay, you are working with different organizations, partner organizations, communities, and government. Mm-hmm. Obviously, in every working process, one faces challenges. You may have also facing some challenges. What are the challenges that you have been facing here in Nepal?
I think one of the biggest challenges is belief systems and the way that they hamper the fulfillment of girls' rights in particular. Children's rights and girls' rights in particular.
Girls' rights is more tough.
Yes, so there's a lot of underlying cultural attitudes and beliefs, which are, some of them are very beneficial for girls and children's rights. But some of them are very detrimental, and actually having a long-term program in place to change that is not as easy as it looks. It can't be done in 2 or 3 years. It needs to be done in 10, 15 years. That's kind of the time span that we're talking about. But the challenge then is, how do we not get affected as an organization by changes of priorities of other actors? Be it elected bodies, being governmental entities, being global trends which come up in Nepal or influence Nepal. So basically being able to change attitude, belief systems of people in favor of girls' rights is a longer term process. So the biggest challenge for us is how can we balance it and not get distracted by by our purpose. Yeah.
Is it possible to see in one generation, or it needs generation change to change the...
It's very possible to see it in one generation.
One generation.
Yeah. It's not possible to see it in 2 years.
Plan International Nepal is doing that.
Yes. Yeah. That's basically our...
It is making possible.
Yes.
Your opinion and experience as well as observation, what are the challenges that Nepali children are facing at this time?
Yeah. I think there's a huge... I already told you about basically the beliefs and attitudes and sometimes the harmful practices that are taking place, which we need to acknowledge to be able to tackle. I think
it means these are the real root cause of other problems that Nepali children are facing.
Yeah. And that leads into examples like the child marriage rate, which is high, child labor, child trafficking is high, etc. So these things, it's very often linked to belief systems. But I think the other challenge that children faces is basically the lack of services for children and quality services for children in all the rural areas that Nepal is in.
Basic
services is basic services. It's basically education, the schools, the infrastructure there, the access to education. It's the health system, which is not necessarily up to scratch in all the rural areas. So that coverage aspect is still very much prevalent in Nepal.
What are the major projects that you are implementing at this time?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the bigger projects that we have now is what we call our Promoting Inclusive Education project. It has been going on for a while, and what we try to do there is building up model schools in which we target two aspects. Either it's, depending on the locality, either it is promoting inclusion, social inclusion through education, so meaning opening school from multiple castes, for instance, Dalit schools that or Dalit populations going into regular schools, etc.
But also affected,
both in earthquake and non-earthquake affected areas. Yeah. But the second thing is then particularly disability inclusion in education. So working with some of the special schools, the resource schools, about either opening up their school to non-disabled children or to allow disabled children to be actually hosted in schools for non-disabled children. So breaking the barriers between the two educational systems is one of the objectives of this.
Nepal has endorsed its new constitutions, and it has recently completed 3 levels of elections, which has legitimized the restructured political system and administrative system. In this changing context, what is Plan International Nepal's strategy to continue its interventions?
Of course, it's been a period like all of us in the development sector have had to adjust. It's a changing context, but a positively changing context, I would say. So one of the things that we have been trying to do is we had to move from having a focus of working with the district authorities into having a focus now of working with the rural municipalities. Newly elected people. So we from
local government.
Yes, from appointed people we actually go into an elected cohort of responsibles that we have to work with. So that needed a little bit of adjustment, which I think we have gone through now. One of the initiatives that we are doing now is basically doing capacity development of the locally elected bodies, making social investments for children. Because what we see now, and I think it's not a strange thing, is that a lot of the local investments are basically going into hardware. It's going into infrastructure and very often in roads. And roads are very needed in some of these localities. But trying to work with them on having a little bit of a balanced investment in the early years to come, that it's not just the infrastructure, but that there's a lot of infrastructural and non-infrastructural needs for children, and how can a local municipality basically, or rural municipality,
physical and social infrastructure,
both, and how can a rural municipality assess this, do an assessment at the local level, but then also budget for that, put budget aside to promote this. So that's basically one of the initial activities that we're doing with the rural municipalities as part of a capacity development and training.
You have been working here in Nepal as country director of Plan International Nepal for 1.5 years. What is your experience working here in Nepal?
It's been a wonderful experience, and one of the reasons is Nepal's huge diversity. The diversity of Nepal makes it its richness. And you can't imagine then some of the successes that we have in one place basically can trickle down to another place, and people can can fertilize an environment that is productive for children's rights. But the diversity aspect has made my work personally very motivating. One day is never like the other day or the next day. So it's been a hugely wonderful experience. And
diversity is both motivation and challenge.
Exactly. Yeah.
You are ready to face this challenge.
Exactly.
And to convert the challenges in opportunity as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your valuable time and opinion.
You're welcome.
हस्त दर्शकवृन्द यही कुराकानीका साथ आजको रूपान्तरण कार्यक्रममा यहीँ टुङ्ग्याउँछौँ र जाँदा जाँदै प्लान नेपालले जुन 40 वर्षको यात्रामा नेपालका बालबालिकाहरूको क्षेत्रमा गरेको काम, खास गरी प्लान नेपालका राष्ट्रिय निर्देशकले स्मरण गर्नुभएको कुरा के हो भने नेतृत्व विकास सबैभन्दा महत्त्वपूर्ण हुन्छ र त्यसले समाजको भ्यालु सिस्टमलाई परिवर्तन गर्न र मान्छेको मानसिकतालाई परिवर्तन गर्न महत्त्वपूर्ण योगदान पुर्याउँछ। त्यसैबाट नै समाजको रूपान्तरण सम्भव छ। त्यसैले हामीले बालबालिकाको क्षेत्रमा काम गरेका हौँ र त्यसैलाई निरन्तरता पनि दिइरहेका छौँ भन्ने कुरा आजको कार्यक्रमको निष्कर्ष हो। यही कार्यक्रम र यही निष्कर्षका साथ रूपान्तरण कार्यक्रम यहाँ टुङ्ग्याउँछौँ। अर्को हप्ता फेरि तपाईँ हाम्रो भेटघाट हुन्छ। आजलाई बिदा दिनुहोस्। नमस्कार।